Senator Mullins.
Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach. I want to welcome Minister Deane and thank him for taking this particular motion. And my motion is calling for the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade to bring pressure on the German authorities to have an inquiry reopened into the circumstances surrounding the death of Galwayman Matthew Fitzpatrick in Mannheim, Germany on the 11th of December 2010. Matthew Fitzpatrick was a successful computer engineer from Portumna in County Galway and was aged 34 when he was found dead in his apartment in Mannheim 2 weeks before Christmas of 2010, the Christmas that he intended to spend with his family in Portumna. The autopsy conducted by the German authorities indicated that Matthew died by self-inflicted strangulation, but his family had their suspicions and conducted their own inquiries and investigations. A second autopsy was conducted in Dublin on the 18th of December 2010, when Matthew's body was repatriated. This was carried out by the Deputy State Pathologist, Dr. Jabber, and raised several troubling questions, which has convinced the Fitzpatrick family that Matthew did not die by suicide, but had been the victim of a violent assault, given the range of injuries found on his body, 45 in total, some of which were defensive injuries. The police investigators in Mannheim initially closed the case on December 22, 2010, but after much pressure from the family, the investigation was reopened, but in June of this year they concluded that there was no reason to change their view on what happened to Matthew. The public prosecutor in Mannheim disregarded most of the evidence submitted by the Fitzpatrick family, as was several other aspects, including the autopsy conducted by Deputy State Pathologist Dr. Jabber. There are several very troubling aspects to this particular case. Recently, the family requested an independent forensic radiologist to review CT scans which were taken of Matthew's body prior to the first autopsy in Germany. The scans had been unfortunately of low resolution, and therefore they requested high-resolution scans from Heidelberg, where the first autopsy took place, so that the independent review could be completed. Their lawyer put the request in and was told yesterday that all autopsy medical information related to Matthew no longer exists. These CT scans provided specific information relating to injuries which Matthew sustained, and it's deeply disturbing that the German authorities have destroyed this vital information. And it's my understanding and the family's understanding that these records should be kept for a minimum of 10 years, and we believe this to be a European standard which Germany has agreed to. There were other troubling aspects. Witnesses and the family provided information relating to abusive and threatening behaviour messages that Matthew received from an individual. The German authorities did not question this individual because he needed a translator. The family also provided evidence that Matthew's PC and laptop were accessed after his death. This access happened 3 hours after his body was found, and the following day, and on 3 further occasions up to the 7th of January 2011. The police stated that there was no technology in the apartment, and no further analysis has been done to identify who has access to Matthew's IT equipment. The family also provided evidence that text messages from Matthew's phone which were provided, and this information was not analysed or taken into account. The witness who found Matthew's body has changed their account of the position of Matthew's body 3 times. The person stated that he was hanging. The family provided evidence highlighting that this was impossible. The witness was allowed to change their account with no analysis or cross-examination. And there were thefts of equipment belonging to Matthew from the apartment, specifically his professional camera, a personal laptop, a baseball bat. This was reported to the police. However, the police rejected this as an issue. So there's clear evidence that the investigation conducted to date is flawed, and the family are convinced that they have provided enough evidence and proof that Matthew did not take his own life. So the family are asking, first of all, to meet with Minister for Foreign Affairs, Charlie Flanagan, and that a thorough analysis will be conducted by the Minister and the Department on the evidence that they are in a position to provide, and that the Minister would put pressure on the German authorities to reopen the review of the circumstances leading to the death of Matthew Fitzpatrick, a young man with a bright career and future ahead of him, who lost his life in very tragic circumstances, and the family are convinced that Matthew did not die by suicide, but that there were injuries on his body which will prove that he was the victim of a severe and vicious attack. So I thank you, Minister, for being here to take this motion today, and I look forward to your reply, and hopefully my request for a meeting with the Minister for the Family can be acceded to.
Thank you. Firstly, may I take this opportunity to extend my deepest condolences to the Fitzpatrick family. I fully sympathise with the family, as I understand how traumatic it is for any family when a loved one dies, and for this to occur in tragic circumstances is even more distressing. I wish to inform the Senator that the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, through the Embassy in Berlin and the Consular Assistance Section in Dublin, has provided consular assistance to the deceased family since they were first informed of his death on the 13th of December 2010. Officials in the Consular Section of the Department have met with the deceased families on a number of occasions, including as recently as Friday the 17th of October. Officials have discussed the case with them and explained the Department's position, including providing relevant information about the German system that may be of assistance to them. I wish to advise the Senator that the consular assistance provided by the Department has included facilitating contacts with police, undertakers, lawyers and the public prosecutor's offices in Germany, and with the Dublin County Coroner's Office and the Garda Síochána in Ireland. On the 15th of December 2010, a diplomatic officer from the Embassy in Berlin travelled to Mannheim and met with relatives of the deceased. The Embassy supplied details of English-speaking funeral directors in the region to assist the family in making arrangements for repatriation. The Embassy provided assistance in dealing with the mortuary, local authorities and the appointed funeral directors on behalf of the family. It also supplied a list of English-speaking lawyers practicing locally so that the family could get professional legal advice on the case and the procedures involved. On the 22nd of March 2011, the Garda liaison officer based in The Hague and the diplomatic officer from the Embassy in Berlin travelled to Mannheim to meet with the police officer who led the investigation into the death. It is my understanding that a senior representative of the State Prosecutor's Office of Baden-Württemberg was also present at this meeting. The Embassy assisted the family to communicate to the representatives of the German authorities present their concerns regarding the manner in which the police investigation had been conducted. In addition, the Embassy in Berlin provided unofficial courtesy translations of extensive police notes on the man's death. Following repatriation of the deceased remains, the Embassy provided unofficial translating services for a considerable amount of documentation to facilitate the family's contacts with the German authorities. Additionally, the Department translated into German a number of representations made by the family, as the Mannheim police authorities had made clear that they were unable to process communications in English. I understand that the police investigation made a determination as to the cause of death, and the Mannheim public prosecutor upheld this verdict in July 2011. Following this, the family appealed that decision to the regional public prosecutor in Karlsruhe, who also upheld the verdict in September 2011. In February 2012, a second police investigation commenced, and in June 2014, the Office of the Mannheim Public Prosecutor stated that the case was closed with no change to the finding. I am very conscious of the plight of the family and sympathise with their great loss. However, the Department is not in a position to directly intervene in the German legal process. The Department cannot interfere or try to influence the judicial process of another state. It has consistently advised the family to take professional legal advice on the legal avenues that may be available to them in the pursuit of their case. Let me assure the Senator that the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade will continue to provide all appropriate consular assistance to the family, and that it will continue to facilitate their dealings with the relevant German authorities.
Senator Mullins, brief question.
Thank you, Minister, for your response. I certainly welcome the fact that the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade will continue to provide all appropriate consular assistance to the family and will continue to facilitate their dealings with the German authorities. I appreciate that the Department cannot interfere in the judicial process of another state, but given the volume of information and facts that are available, I certainly want that meeting with the Minister to take place, and I want to ensure that all the facts of the case are made available to him and to the Department. And I hope that some progress can be made in the near future to further process this case with the German authorities. The family and the volume of evidence available strongly suggests that Matthew Fitzpatrick did not die as a result of suicide, and the family are determined to obtain justice for Matthew, and they intend to continue until they get this case again reviewed, so that all the information that they have made available and is now in the public domain is reviewed by the German authorities, because they certainly feel that much of the information that they have provided has been disregarded by the German authorities, and there are certainly some serious questions to be asked about the conduct of the autopsy, given the amount of injuries found on the body of Matthew during the autopsy conducted by the Deputy State Pathologist here in Dublin after Matthew's body was repatriated. So there are certainly many aspects of this case that are deeply troubling, and I look forward to the Minister having an urgent meeting with the family on this matter. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Senator Mullins, for raising this very, very important and indeed tragic matter here in the Senate this afternoon. And just to say that the Minister has agreed to meet with the family, it's just a matter of deciding on a date at this stage. So I would suggest that if Senator Mullins will communicate with the Minister's Secretary, I'm sure that that date can be finalised as soon as possible. And thank you again for raising this matter.
Thank you, Minister Dean. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Minister.